Okay. I'm calling to order the Tuesday, October 12th, 2021 regular school board meeting in the Beacon City School District. Welcome. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Kelly. Excused.
Here. Here.
Here? Here, thank you. Matt, can you review the fire exits, please?
Yes, exits are in the back of the theater.
Thank you. Open to the public. Kelly, do you mind grabbing the book? Before we begin open to the public, I see some new faces here. I just want to remind everyone that you'll have 4 minutes to speak. I also want to acknowledge that there have been some, maybe you've heard some difficult board meetings in our area and across our country, and I'm really proud of Beacon for keeping the discourse friendly. We want to hear from you, and we can't do it if everyone's not being polite and respectful. I also want to say, I know it's hard. I've been on that side of the podium, and it's hard to say your piece and feel that you're not being heard. I want to assure you that we are listening to you. I will give Matt the opportunity to respond to any comments he feels are necessary at the end of public comment period. You may not get an answer tonight, or an answer that is to your satisfaction, but I just want you to know that we are listening. So the first person that has signed up is Lori Smith. Oh, and I'm going to ask that you please keep your mask on while you're speaking.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi, my reason for being here is the school buses. I've spoken to
Will you just, I'm sorry, but just pull, you can pull it down so it's right.
Yeah, sorry,
That's
first
okay.
time public speaking.
No problem.
I spoke to the superintendent, I spoke to the assistant superintendent about the buses. They've been making unscheduled stops in places where they shouldn't with children at work. My grandchildren were 2 of them, 2 different stops, 2 different days. They're at South Avenue. They should be, where they're like the 2nd to 3rd stop. My grandchildren have been coming home at 5-something at night. I've called the dispatcher's office. I spoke to Deborah there. I spoke to the dispatcher. One day I was told 5 minutes. My daughter called back 15 minutes later at 4:30, wondering where the bus is. The dispatcher told us that he didn't know where the bus was. And he'd ask him when he came in. My grandchildren, 8 years old and 5-year-old, were alone on the bus without a monitor one day, that it was stopped behind a building and in another place where we went and also checked it out. No houses around, no people, no excuse whatsoever. I have tried to speak with both of the superintendents. I was guaranteed again to be contacted back today, and they did not bother again. This is very serious to be having children taking places where they're not supposed to be and no one's answering as to what's going on, except for I looked at I did have the lady at the bus garage, Deborah, tell me she looked at the cameras and she verified that the children were taken to those places. And they did sit there, and the bus driver, in fact, one other child that was on the bus, there was 2 other little boys, pulled the alarm on the bus. No one was notified about that either. What I got was the bus driver didn't bother picking up that route, so don't have to worry about it. Well, he's driving others, and then he drove my other grandchildren. Then there was another day, because of this, I was very worried. I called to find out where my grandchildren were. The bus was very late. That was the day I was told they didn't know where the bus was. Then they told me they dropped one off and had the other one on the bus. I'm like, I don't have either one of them here. They told me they both fell asleep on the bus. My 8-year-old granddaughter told me everything, where the bus stopped, where the traffic, everything. She was never asleep. I was told so many different stories. Because of this, my granddaughter was acting a little strange at school after this. I asked the teacher, anything happened, and called her mom to pick her up. And she just was upset about the bus. What happened? I asked the superintendent that I would please, I understand I can't see the cameras when there's other kids because of privacy. But the times that my grandchildren are alone on that bus, I want to see what happened. Hopefully pray for, and maybe it's nothing. But I want to know. No response from these two. They did not even follow through. That's unacceptable. We cannot have our children in places with people sitting somewhere when they're supposed to be going from one pickup to another. This wasn't that they pulled over for any reason whatsoever. You'll be able to verify that. And my other problem is, when you call the school, they don't know exactly what time the buses left and what time the buses come in. I've spoke to South Avenue, and I guess they're paying a little bit more attention in Glenham, which is amen to them. But we need a tighter grip on these buses. We need to know where they are. They can't just tell the bus garage I'm caught in traffic when they're really not. There's too much freedom with these buses, and we don't know where our children are. And I want to see something done about this. Not only for my own, but for everybody's children. Because I'm sure nobody was aware that these buses have been stopped. One bus stopped behind a little shopping center up there in Topping, sat behind the building. Sat on a road, a side road there, with nothing but trees, no cars, no nothing to park at. It was just sitting there. The bus driver never addressed the children, and I verified from the manager at the bus garage that she told me, there was no problem, no nothing. She says, I don't know why the bus driver, she says, I looked at the camera and the kids are just looking around like, what's going on?
Okay, Mrs. Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jay Adams.
I'm
Keith Oberly.
Keith Oberly, yeah, I think I'm on there third. Basically, I'm here with the issue with the masks for the kids. My name is Keith Oberly. I'm the parent of a pre-K student. I was also born and raised in Beacon myself. And although I was happy that my son was going to preschool this year, I was not happy about him having to wear a mask. Let me show you the reason why. I work for a company that regularly uses a tool called a Drager. We use this tool to monitor the air quality in enclosed spaces. I decided to test the air quality inside the mask to see if it was safe for breathing. I will be paying attention to the oxygen levels. A normal safe reading is 19.5 as per OSHA Respiratory Protection Standards 29 CFR 1910.134. According to the OSHA standard, anything below 19.5 oxygen is deemed oxygen deficient atmosphere and is generally be considered immediately dangerous to life or health. When I put on a mask and put the meter in, you'll see the O2 levels almost immediately decline. I'll perform it later. Now, normal is 19.5. That's per OSHA. Now, you'll see, right now the oxygen is 18.6, 18.5, and immediately. Turn that off. That noise is a cue for me to get out of that enclosed space. That's immediately. My life is in danger when that thing goes off. So now my question is, having this information, what are you going to do about it? My son is 4 years old. It breaks my heart every time dropping him off to school every day with a mask on. My opinion is mandate needs to stop immediately. Knowing they're suffocating these kids. There's no reason why I can go into a restaurant with a mask on, sit down, and take it off, and we can't do that for these kids. They simply don't work. As a matter of fact, I bought a box of masks for my kids. On the box it says, warning, this mask is not a respirator. This mask does not eliminate the risk of contracting any disease or infection. It's on the box. The masks don't eliminate the risk of contracting any disease or infection. It's time to stop treating our kids like some sort of virus-infested lab rats. It has to end. You can't mask your way out of a pandemic, and you can't vaccinate your way out of a pandemic. This is not okay for these kids to have this, as you can see. Not only physically, but mentally. Like this is what I have to say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Everly. So is Jay Adams here?
Yeah.
Would you like to speak, Mr. Adams?
Yes. I could probably get time to speak now. Because after what the gentleman was just talking about, okay, you got him down here on his phone, not caring about anything that this gentleman just said there. That's wrong, man. So I'm gonna go through my spiel. Hop on your phone and text away if you like. Okay, my name is Jay Adams. I've been a resident in Beacon for many, many years. I was born and raised here. Okay? I'm a registered Republican, okay? But I do have my own thoughts, okay? I support pro-choice. I support the LGBTQ community, okay? And I don't support the storming of the Capitol. I have my own thoughts. But yet here I'm standing, okay? All of them I just mentioned it's a choice in life, okay? We have choices, but yet I'm standing in front of you guys, you're not giving us a choice about the vaccination. You're telling us to get the kids vaccinated, or else. My question to you guys is, what's the or else? Do you plan on segregating my child from the school? You know? Or do you plan on giving him some kind of homeschooling, or giving him the tools to work at home? Because in 2020, my son hit high honor. He did it all himself. Okay, so that's my point on the vaccination. I think it's wrong. You can't tell me what to do with my child. My son's not getting vaccinated, so he has the same exact name as I do, so take it how you guys will. All right? But you guys are going to have to provide us with something to let my child work from home. Second thing is, I stand before you with a hat, American flag hat. Okay? My son is being bullied in school because he wears the same exact hat as I do. Because he's proud of he's proud of America, and he's proud of his mother. His mother's got 12 years in the service. Okay? Many of it's active, 2 deployments, and still to this day reservists. He's being made fun of at school. He's being called names. Okay? He's being bullied, and actually assaulted too. Okay? Children are taking his hat off, stomping it on the ground. What are we doing in school here? What are we teaching these children? Okay? These children are being taught something not to love America or something. I don't know. Are you still with me? Still with me?
I can multitask, by the way.
Okay, well, I'm just making sure, you know. You keep going on your phone and going on your computer. I got everybody else's attention but yours. So anyway, what I was saying is, there's been multiple instances of parents themselves have came to me and told me what the teachers in school are telling these children. Okay, one instance, and I'm going to give you one and I'm done. One instance, a teacher told the children in school that Fox 5 and CNN are fake news. Why are we teaching that in school? We should not be teaching that at all in school. Leave politics away from these kids. These kids are not old enough to vote, and stop teaching these kids what side of the side to swipe. Because this is not right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Adam McKibble?
My mother, Rachel McKibble, died in a COVID isolation ward at Pastor Brothers Hospital on January 15th. Before that, she spent nearly a year in quarantine. It was a miserable time for her and for her family, and the isolation sped up her dementia considerably. She was confused and frightened a lot of the time. I barely saw my mother during the last year of her life, and when she died, I could not be there to hold her hand and comfort her. My mother was a teacher for over 50 years, and she loved her students and her community. But after a lifetime of serving and helping others, she died alone. I live with this painful knowledge every day. Every day. I would not wish what happened to my mother, my family, and me on anyone else. Deceit and manipulation are as old as humanity itself. Most of the time, this means bad luck for the few people who fall prey to Ponzi schemes, or are suckered into buying the lemon off Craigslist, or who donate money to fraudulent charities. When such things happen, a few people are certainly hurt, but society as a whole can still function. Vaccination, testing, and masking are a different story. When people have been deceived and manipulated into dangerous behaviors by false information and cynical leaders, their actions affect all of us. They prioritize their own desires over the responsibility we have all to each other. As a consequence of their choices and actions, healthcare systems cannot function properly, and people do not get the medical attention they need, and not just COVID patients. But people do have their freedom in America. If any teacher, administrator, staff, or security personnel want to place their sense of freedom over the safety of our children, our families, and this community, then I encourage those people to exercise their God-given liberty to resign from the district and find employment somewhere else. Anyone who places their misguided needs above our children's safety just might not be the best employee for a school district. Most people in this district support the common sense steps we must take to protect each other, and we support the decision of the superintendent and the board to implement those steps. My mother's final year was terrible, and the manner of her death haunts me every day. Let's do what we can to prevent other children, parents, and grandparents from having to go through the same misery. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Mark O'Malley.
Hello, thank you. My name is Mark O'Malley, and I'm responding to public comments objecting to the masks and testing mandates in our schools. The Delta variant of COVID-19 has caused record-breaking spikes in cases across the country, especially in areas with low vaccine rates and where schools open with no vaccine or vaccine mandates. According to the American Academy of Pediatrics, children made up about 15% of new COVID cases throughout most of the pandemic, but as of late August, they accounted for nearly 1 in 4 new cases, and the percent is still growing. Vaccines are our best weapon against this disease, as they have been with other diseases, many now eradicated in the United States. Although there have been breakthrough infections, that does not mean the vaccines don't work. Instead, it shows how the unvaccinated are allowing the virus to mutate and become more potent. I hope this would mean that the adults we trust with our children's safety will take the proper precautions to keep our kids safe. Unfortunately, there is a minority of staff, faculty, and board members who are opposed to simple measures to protect the health of our community. Claims from violations of civil liberties to the dangers of masks and vaccines are used to defy common sense policies in this time of crisis. Spurious stories on social media and pseudoscience are accepted as thoughtful counterarguments to the advice of scientists and medical experts. The sciences and the facts are clear. Vaccines are safe and effective, and masks help prevent the spread of the virus. It is baffling and disturbing to know that there are people who do not want to do their part to keep us all safe. As for civil liberties, There is legal precedent that mask and vaccine mandates do not violate individual rights. In the 1905 Supreme Court case, Jacobson versus Massachusetts, the court ruled against an individual's claim that a vaccine mandate for smallpox violated his liberties. Notably, the court ruled that the mandate did not violate the Constitution since it applied to all adults equally, and it was the government's duty to protect public health. If you do not want to wear a mask, you don't want to get vaccinated, and you don't want to be tested, then what are the alternatives? Do nothing, let vulnerable people die, let hospital ICUs fill to capacity with unvaccinated COVID patients, and turn away other patients with serious health conditions? Let the virus continue to replicate and mutate? I would hope you would agree that all these things are unacceptable and that we must use all the tools available to mitigate the spread of this deadly virus. The rhetoric against masks and vaccines is irresponsible and dangerous. I send my kids to school every day worried they will be exposed, and the reckless decisions of those who should know better infuriates me. My daughter is particularly at risk because she is too young to be vaccinated. If you want to work with our children, you must do all you can to keep them safe. If you choose not to, there are other lines of work you are free to pursue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Malley. Ariel Espinosa.
Good evening. My name is Ariel Espinosa, and I'm a parent of New Covenant Learning Center. I'm highly disappointed in the lack of communication provided by the district to our school, as well as the fair treatment of New Covenant. New Covenant has done so much for this district and for the community. It has produced students that are far beyond their years. Our students are not receiving lunch due to a lack of communication from the district. Our students are the same as the public school students, except they physically attend a different school. Another example of lack of communication is that the school gets an email today about curriculum books. We are in the second month of school and we are now being asked what our students need. How is that fair treatment? I bet all of your public school students have all of their books, but our kids don't. How is that establishing and enforcing that every student is successful? We have asked several times before school started for our books for our students. We are asking simply for a collaborative relationship with the district, not one where our school is segregated. Just like how you are possibly mandating students to get vaccinated, why don't you mandate that our students at New Covenant who are enrolled and registered in Beacon get the same treatment, opportunities, and school lunch as your public school students? Thank you.
Thank you. Dear Danton, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading the reading.
Hello, good evening. My name is Deja Dalton.
Deja.
I am a parent of New Covenant Learning Center. I have 2 children that attend there for the past 4 years. I really wasn't prepared to speak tonight, but I felt like I had to. I am very disappointed in the fact that the kids are not receiving school lunch again this year, as we thought that they would. It was brought to my attention on the second day of school, which was very short notice, that the kids would not be receiving school lunch. Again, I have been part of this district for the past 4 years. I feel like my kids deserve the same treatment as the other kids. Why they are not receiving school lunch, I have no idea, but I would really like this issue to be addressed, and sometime relatively soon, not halfway through the school year. Our kids are a part of this Beacon City School District. Thank you.
Thank you. LaShawn Smallstrong.
Good evening. I'm LaShawn Smallstrong. I'm also a parent of a student at New Covenant Learning Center, and it was brought to my attention as well that the children will not be receiving school lunches. And as the other parents have said, this is an important issue. The kids should not be segregated against because they're in a different school. They're still attending school in this district. And I don't see why this has not been addressed or why it's being dragged out, and the kids should not be in the midst of politics. These are children. We're adults. We should be able to handle this in an adult manner, and it should not be dragged out any longer. As I understand, Mrs. Kelly has been here, and she has been repeatedly fighting for the school to receive the same treatment as the children in the Beacon district. Ms. Dalton lives here. She's lived here all her life. We commute here and we pay for the children to go to school here. Our tax dollars are filtered into this community. There's no reason why the children should be looked at any differently because it is a different school. They teach the same things. The children graduate from that school, they come into your district, and they become productive citizens of this society. The statistics from their school shows it. So these children should be looked at in the same manner and should not be treated any differently. The school should not be treated any differently. And I would also ask that this is addressed immediately so that we can move on from this matter and try to come to terms with things that are more important in this world other than fighting over the fact that the kids should or should not have school lunch. I feel like that is just so back ages. We have more important things in the world to use our time to sit and debate. That's it.
Thank you. Those are all the names on the list. Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment? Matt, did you have any response that you wanted to make?
Sure. I'll just sort of go through Mrs. Smith. We did spend a fair amount of time looking through videos today. We did not finish, but we'll be in touch with you tomorrow. I'm just trying to see where folks are. In terms of health measures for the district, we do follow the state mandate. We don't have a choice. It's a mandate that just involves masks. It involves some other safety measures as well. It does not involve vaccines for students. There's some accountability measures with that, but I will also say that we have seen, and we can still say, even in the midst of the Delta variant this fall, that we have not seen transmission in school. That's something that I was able to say last year, and that's something that we've been able to say all through this year as well. We communicate both about the measures, but also on a daily or regular basis when we do have cases. All the health officials that we work with from either the state level or the county level feel like the things we're doing, like we did reduce class sizes at the elementary level, even with bringing all the students back, increased ventilation and air filtration in all of our classrooms, and including wearing masks have helped have no spread in school so far. That's something that we monitor on a daily basis. It's something we do worry about. It's something that we take seriously, but it is, the mask part of it is a state mandate. To be clear, the only mandate that we have about vaccines is for employees, and that's for unvaccinated employees to be tested on a weekly basis. There is no mandate for students. My understanding is that that is not a local decision. That would be a decision at the state level. If there were a decision around vaccines for students, just like the state does the different mandates for all the other required vaccines for students. So anything regarding a vaccine for students is handled at the state level, and in fact a pure mandate, a vaccine mandate for employees would also be at the state level. The reason why the city, New York City Schools has a vaccine mandate for its employees is the mayor has control over the schools, kind of like the governor does for the rest of the state. The mayor did the mandate. The governor has not done a full mandate, full vaccine mandate for our employees yet. There's still the option for unvaccinated folks to be tested, but it's something, just also, just as a parent, believe me, I would love to have this behind us. It's not easy. It's not easy being a parent. It's certainly not easy being a child during this time. So I hear all the concerns that people bring in whatever format I do about getting through this. It's tough. So I do understand everyone's concerns with this. We've put a lot of effort into trying to keep things safe for folks, and we have to follow the mandates that are put on us by the state. To New Covenant parents, thanks for coming tonight. The one thing about the lunches or the meals we provided last year, it was really easy to do last year. It was last year was a year, I think, just because of everything across the country or across the state that districts were dealing with. Essentially, almost all the rules regarding food were lifted. We were able to both share with other schools, but also just like meal pickups on Wednesdays for people in the community. We didn't have to track the meals. We didn't have to do any of that. What we're working on right now, it has been a little time consuming, and we hope to have it done in the coming days, is we have to create New Covenant as a separate site, an RA site. There's a lot of parts to that we have to make sure that we're in compliance with. It's quite a long list. We're meeting with someone from the state, I think Thursday of this week. I'll confirm that tomorrow. That person has told us she's going to help us get this done. If it was just a matter of us fixing the food, we would have done it weeks ago and just done it like we did last year. But we can't this year. One of the things that was told to us this year is if we aren't in full compliance, and by full compliance I mean following every single rule that they lifted last year, that we could also lose our ability to do the lunch program for our entire district. So that being said, we want to get this done very quickly. I'm hoping in the coming days we can just get through whatever last red tape the state has for us and get this done. So I apologize for the length of time that it's taken. It has been a little bit of a struggle on our end as well, but I'm sorry for the frustration that's caused. I'm sorry, I'm looping back to one of the other comments. If there's issues with bullying in a school, please contact whatever, depending on the school, assistant principal or principal of the school, and or the teacher, so they can address it at that level as well. But thanks for coming tonight, and if you want to talk to me further, you can email me and we can set up a time to talk.
Thank you. And thanks again for coming to share your concerns. Next we have our workshop. Tonight we're going to hear from Christopher Melly via Zoom. He's from Nugent Haussler, our external auditors. And he's going to review our audit report.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yes.
Yes. So my name is Gary Theodore. We are a partner here at Nugent Haussler. We audit about 18 school districts in the area. So this time of year, some of our scheduling gets a little tight. So they asked me to sit in and give the presentation. The first thing I'd like to do is Jennifer Capicchione, who's the lead auditor for the Beacon School District, apologizes that she cannot be here tonight, but she has given me a short 30-second statement to read. So if you'll allow me, I will read this note from Jennifer. It says that she had met with the audit committee on October 7th to discuss the audit results in great detail. She said to give a little background, as part of the audit process, they conducted interviews of district staff, performed walkthroughs of processes and procedures, tested documentary evidence, reviewed the extra classroom funds, and audited the federal awards under the Uniform Guidance Standards. After performing these procedures, she is pleased to announce that there are 4 unmodified or clean opinions within the financial statements. One is on the financial statements themselves, the second is on internal controls over financial reporting, the third is over the federal awards, and the fourth, the extra classroom fund. She says she's happy to report that the school is in strong financial condition as of June 30th and has sufficient cash to meet the obligations, as well as put some money into some reserves. In prior years, some of the major changes to the financial statement was with OPEB, other post-employment benefits, and recording pensions. This year, there was just one major change, and that's GASB 84, fiduciary activities, stating where the different items of the trust and agency fund had to be changed and moved to. All findings and adjustments were discussed with management and addressed in a timely manner, and all proposed adjustments were made. So in conclusion, she says she'd like to express a sincere thanks to Anne Marie, Donald, and the rest of the business staff for all their hard work and assistance throughout the audit process. Would you like me to just touch on a couple of the highlights of the financial statement?
That would be great, thank you.
Okay. So looking at the audited financial statements for the Beacon City School District, as you know, there's actually 2 sets of financial statements. The first set is as if the school operated as a business. And these are the first 2 financial statements. And the balance sheet under this method, as a business model, shows that the liabilities are more than the assets, kind of the opposite way that we want it to be. And it shows that you have a net position of a minus 116 million, and that's due primarily because of the OPEB, or the health insurance benefits for retired employees. And really every school that I've been involved with has a big negative on this statement, except for one school, and they require their teachers to pay half of the health insurance costs. So they were able to negotiate something that most schools weren't able to. And then under that method, on Schedule 2, it shows a loss for the year of 13 million, once again tied to the OPEB liability. After the business financial statements, we go to the fund financial statements, which is what everyone is really used to seeing, and which has most meaning to those of us who have been doing this for a long time. On Schedule 3, we see each fund ended the year with a positive fund balance, except for the capital fund, and that's normal because there's a timing difference. The expenses are in one year and the income is in the next year. The general fund ended the year with $13 million fund balance, which puts it in a good, healthy position. It's kind of funny, sometimes the state gives you a hard time about having too much fund balance, but on the other hand, if you don't have enough fund balance, they put you on a watch list. So it's a little bit of a dance, but as auditors, we like to see a healthy fund balance and know that the school is in good financial condition. The income and expenses of the funds are on Schedule 5, and we see that every fund had a positive result for the year. In other words, the income was more than the expenses, except for the capital fund, and that's because the expenses are 1 year, income is in another year. So the school is in good financial condition that way. After the financial statements and notes, there are some required supplemental schedules, and the first one I'm looking at is supplemental schedule number 2, which addresses the general fund only and compares the actual results to what was budgeted for the year. So on the revenue side, for the general fund only, $3.2 million came in more than what was budgeted. So that's a positive outcome. And when we look at the expenses compared to budget for the general fund, the school underspent the budget by $1.5 million. So that was another positive outcome. And there was a COVID virus year. So that explains for some of the ups and downs in the budgeting process. And the last page I'll stop at shows the federal money that the school district received from the federal government. The school received close to $3.5 million. And that's what causes us to have to do some additional ordinance procedures that the federal government requires. So that's a quick run through of the financial statement. The school is in good financial position. Does anyone have any questions?
Hello?
No questions?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
trying to get my mic set up, sorry. Thank you for the analysis. How do you, is it, I guess in layman's term, is this report better or worse than last year's?
I was not involved in last year's audit.
Anthony, he may not be able to answer that, but at the audit committee meeting on Thursday, they were full of praise that it was better than last year.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
There is a corrective action plan, which is on the agenda under the business at the end. And so there's a few things that we're working on. I would say it was considerably better than the one I've seen over the last couple of years. Quite a bit cleaner.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual? The board will return in about a half hour.
Anthony, so moved.
Anthony, second. Alyssa? Comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I'm in favor, passes 8-0. And 11.22, added to consent agenda, PPS agreement. Are there any parent groups or student school presentations? Seeing none in the audience. And none on Zoom. I'm going to move on to the superintendent's report. Matt?
Hi, just real quick, some updates and reminders. One, we keep moving along with getting the word out about the capital project. Before the board meeting tonight, we had another Zoom town hall. We record these and put them on YouTube. I sort of call tonight's town hall the shorter version. We got it done, I think, around a half an hour, so we'll put that up on YouTube for people to watch. Anne Marie or I are trying to be at all of the PTO meetings, also to get the word out. The mailer is soon, should be arriving in the next few days in people's mailboxes. That's going to all residents. And then next week we're having a special board meeting that's just about the project. We'll go through the slides. We'll answer some of the questions that have come up in the town halls, and then if community members will have a chance to do public comment for that as well. It's been really fun talking about this capital project. There are so many different exciting things in it, and it's been a real pleasure to take to the public. So October 26th is the vote, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Beacon High School or Glenn. A few things coming up. So some district events this week is homecoming week on Thursday. We have a boys soccer game, I think at 4:15 to 6:30, and then after the game, so it'll be here at home under the lights, and after the game there will be fireworks. So the whole thing is open to the community. Fireworks were provided by community donations, and it should be a really fun night. And as a parent of an elementary student, it's a great one for elementary age kids to come to, because fireworks will be done pretty early at night. And then Friday we have the homecoming football game. Just want to give a shout out to our administrators, our teacher chaperones, our director of security, Mark Thomas, our partners at the Beacon Police Department who helped us manage our games from a security perspective. We have many hundreds of people come to the game, probably close to 1,000. And a lot of folks are coordinated and really trying to keep it to be a safe and fun environment. It's been really nice to be at those. Just a few committee updates. Our diversity equity committee, we will meet on November 4th. It's a Thursday at 7 o'clock. Zaggy and Bill and I are working on a plan for that committee, but we'll do some more kind of, for lack of a better word, formal meetings on Zoom. And then we're going to create some small working groups on some issues in the district like curriculum, hiring practices, and the code of conduct for folks, for all of us to be more goal-oriented and productive. Later this week, we'll have a plan for the Wellness Committee set up with dates as well, and so I'll share those in my superintendent update. One of the things we want to focus on in the Wellness Committee is moving forward, supporting students with mental health and social emotional support. And that's the update tonight. Again, really excited about this capital project, and these big events behind the high school have been really fun this month, and looking forward to the ones coming up.
Thank you. And yes, I think you must have used a thesaurus for excited. You had a lot more variety in your words tonight.
I worked thrilled, delighted. My pleasure to talk about it, but it really, it's been a really fun capital project to talk about, so can't wait to keep moving forward.
Thank you. All right, committee reports, including board comments. Anthony, Mike?
Sure. So the curriculum committee met on September 30th at 2:30 and then 3:30. The notes were discussed that I wasn't able to make it, but Saggy did provide me with the committee notes. So there was a 3-year curriculum plan was discussed that was reviewed with the board prior to the curriculum committee meeting. And then there was conversation around the November 2nd PLD, Professional Learning Day. The morning will be consistent with the curriculum plan overview, as well as sessions devoted to the unpacking of New York State culturally responsive, sustainable education framework. Time will be given for each department to meet. The afternoon will be consistent with a series of electives and possibilities. Some are grading with equity in mind, responsive classrooms, integrated co-teaching, tech sessions for new teachers, Power School training, review for foreign language standards, an overview of the new Regents tests, and special ed student transitioning workshop. They also reviewed the 3-year curriculum mapping phases, and the district will begin with the ELA. They discussed how iWriting will be phased in. They discussed the F&P, which is Fontes Pinnell, and how it will be for K-5, will be administering the F&P benchmarks. The DRA, diagnostic reading assessment, will no longer be used in K2, but there will be training for at individual buildings. Next year, 2022, 2023, 6th grade will be administering F&P benchmarks as well, and the following year, 7th grade. They also discussed how Reading Plus will be phased out. I already provide some more personal student data than the Reading Plus program. And then there was discussion of deficits, and many teachers commented on the number of deficits that they are witnessing from some students due to the COVID, lapse in COVID, and just meeting the major standards that the state had outlined for the 2021 school year. Writing is one of the areas that they felt the students showed the most struggles. The math teacher explained that some students who were fully remote did not engage or complete assignments, and is impacting their understanding of this year's expectations of conceptual knowledge. And then there was other comments, but that was mainly the nuts and bolts of the committee meeting. The next committee meeting is the third Thursday in October, which I believe is 21st, October 21st. Is it the 21st or no?
It's the next meeting of the month.
Oh, got it. Oh, November. Yes. And then I just have some personal comments. During public comment, we heard a lot of different issues coming up. I think it's important that the board, as well as myself, we keep our political views out of it and do what's best for kids. The state really mandates and tells us what to do in regards to that safety aspect. I would like to add to the agenda for the future a discussion as to what is the district's responsibilities for a private school in the district. I know that topic has been coming up a lot, and we've had some public comments. Whether we could address that and have a discussion about what is the district's responsibility, because it is not a school in the district. It is a school that is housed in the Beacon City School District, but it's not a Beacon City school. So we have 4 elementary schools, middle school, and high school. New Covenant is not part of the district, but it's part of the city, which I understand the collaboration needs to happen, but I do think that it would be a worthy conversation, just so we understand what the expectations are from the district, and then we can clearly communicate that to the constituents as well.
I just want to ask, is everyone okay with putting that on a future agenda? Probably not the
No, I'm fine.
next, but in November we can.
I think a workshop would be more proper, to tell us what our responsibilities are. Agenda item would suggest that there's going to be a debate and a decision.
Yeah.
But a workshop, I think, is kind of what you're asking for, right?
I'm fine with either or. I just want to bring up as a personal request, and I know that the protocol is to, one, make the board aware of it, so I was trying to make the board aware that I will open up the discussion, whatever means the board feels is appropriate, I'm fine.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure our board members are behind it, and we will. I do think you're right that there's some confusion about our responsibilities and just the rules and laws around the support we offer to neighboring schools. Is that all, Anthony?
Yes.
Thank you. Craig?
Yes, thank you. So we had a meeting of the Audit and Finance Committee, at which we, for the first time, welcomed the direct participation of our 2 community volunteers, who are not board members but are members of the committee. We took advantage of openings in the state rules relating to boards of ed to put people on, and they are Joe Baffuto and Matthew May. And each of the gentlemen has a good background in financial management in the private sector currently. And so it's good to have them aboard. We did meet with our, as was mentioned earlier, by the representative from Nugent Hausler, our external auditors. John Capicchione, the lead auditor, met with us on Zoom. And we had numerous questions and answers for some time, go over the details, particularly of the management letter. And as mentioned earlier, we did not have major concerns. These kind of concerns that are in there are relatively small and readily addressable, although some of them can be these nagging things that takes a while to get nailed down. And part of it is just making sure that everybody follows the existing protocols, and they don't always, so somebody has to be told, this is the protocol and you need to stay on it, such as making sure that you get your purchase orders and your purchases in the correct order, so to speak, cart before the horse. Then we also heard from our CFO, Mrs. Porteroni, that she will be preparing the corrective action report, which she has done. That is in the agenda posted therein. I think we should probably pop that out in case there's any questions or further comments. But we also heard that our internal auditor, which is a different firm, needs to get on the calendar for audit, and so that's being discussed. Again, we'll hear further how that's going. We also heard that we have the state controller. By the way, this is 3 separate entities that are doing auditing. I think it's impressive that there actually are 3. And this one is the state of New York, the Office of State Controller, which from time to time will decide to visit each school district in the state and focus on such things as they think need attention or would benefit from their administrations. We have had this going on for some time, and I gather it is not yet completed, and we'll see what comes off the pipe at the other end when the time is right. So we're going to have to talk about scheduling our next meeting. I know we had talked about the third Thursday. I'm not going to be available on that night, so we're going to need to find a time when we can have our next meeting. And I think what we're trying to do is coordinate our meetings with some of the visits of some of our consultants and so on. So we'll see how that works out, and we'll be in touch with you and Ray to see what we can nail down. I think since Kristen, the chair's facilities and operations, is not here tonight, I can note for you that we did also meet, and we met with our architect from Tetra Tech, Bill Wisbauer, who's the lead architect, and as far as we can see, things are in pretty good shape, and we were just choosing all the checkpoints to see that we're lined up and ready to go. We see the legal notices have been published, and as far as I can tell, we are good to go. And we have our election people on the ballot here tonight, right? So we're looking forward to, I would hope, a decent turnout in the election, or the vote, which is 26th from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Beacon High School or Glenham, depending upon which district you happen to reside in. So that's about it for me. I think that I agree with Anthony White that we got some good comments tonight. I think they were well reserved, and we even had a little technological demonstration about what goes on inside the masks. I found that interesting. However, when we breathe out carbon dioxide. So I suppose the test should be on what happens when we're breathing in. But anyway, I found it fascinating. So I hope that we continue to have this kind of good dialogue. I do think if we listen carefully, we'll be respected for doing so.
Thanks, Craig.
Mayor, can I just comment on the audit finance that Craig was bringing up as well?
Of course.
I think it's a stellar job that the district did, receiving federal funds and keeping track of how they're spent and having such a clean audit is remarkable. Being in the educational field and dealing with grants and financing and keeping track of what claim form goes to what grant and so forth, and to have a clean audit like we did, and probably the best one in a couple of years, like 3-4 years, it shows that there's a fine eye that's being paid attention to. So I would like to commend the Audit Finance Committee as well as Anne Marie and her team, because they're really doing it. But I felt the Audit Finance Committee, with the input of the 2 outside experts that are accountants, contributed to, how that process is going and to confirm that it is going well.
Thank you. Anthony Tsai?
Good evening. The diversity committee hasn't met yet, so I don't have anything on that. I'm grateful for the work of the audit committee and the audit report. It's good news. I think a good financial standing helps us to provide a good education. And I'm also elated that the Sergeant PTO has got their spirit wear out. I got my t-shirt. I missed my chance a couple of times before, so I'm glad I finally put an order in. There is the DIA Beacon Teens School Year 2021-22 program application is open, and the applications are due October 16th. They are looking for sophomores or juniors, but they also take senior applications as well. They're looking for applicants to commit to the full program year. So
You know, Anthony, I'm glad you brought that up. We actually have to reschedule that. Emery and Matt have a conflict for that night, so
Works out.
it will work out, yeah.
Okay. That is all I have to report.
Thank you. John?
The only thing I have is that I would like to wish everyone who else good luck at their homecoming game. And that is all.
Thank you. Jasmine?
So as most of us know, that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And there's a lot of events happening, but the two that I am going to mention, CrossFit 845, which is the Gym of Wappingers, they are holding an event this Saturday. It's with another organization called Barbells for Boobs. That is the name. And they strive to get women and also everyone else to have daily movement. Engaging in consistent physical activity has been proven an effective intervention to reduce cancer risk and severity of cancer treatment. So that event will be on Saturday from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. They do ask for donations as well. And there is another event called Making Strides Breast Cancer Walk that's happening in Woodbury Commons this Sunday. I know it is the morning time, but I'm not sure what time. And I will be walking with New Covenant Learning Center in that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Alyssa?
My only comment was to confirm our policy committee meeting on November 1st, but you said we need to reschedule, so are we doing that now, or?
Let's do it over email. There's just so many moving parts this month with the vote, so I think email might be a little bit easier, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Do you want to start that email, or shall I?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you. Flora?
So we had the first Dutchess County School Board Association meeting of the year, and it started with the sort of roundtable from different board members from different districts about their experiences with opening. And there were a lot of common themes, issues with bus driver shortages or being close to shortages, infection outbreaks in small areas that were sort of creating, not necessarily having to send entire classrooms home, but, sending groups of students home. And there were also contentious public comments at board meetings, and some districts in the region have had to go virtual with their board meetings because of safety concerns. And that was really surprising, and I'm really glad that we haven't had to do that here in Beacon, and I'm so grateful that public comments have remained civil, and that we've been able to listen, and that the public has been able to speak. And that was a real reminder that we've been able to do that, hearing that other districts have not. There are also a lot of the same concerns about ensuring student and staff emotional well-being and making sure that students are where they need to be academically. We also had an interesting conversation about learning how to be a board member and how to communicate effectively as a board. And one of the members recommended a book called How Not to Be a Terrible Board Member. And since the association has all of this money that's built up during COVID, they are going to purchase the books for every district. And I definitely plan on reading it, and I think it would be kind of cool if we sort of shared it around, and then maybe it could be a topic of conversation at one of our retreats. I'm sure that we're going to find stuff in there that's useful and that we want to talk about. We were also, that was something that came up because we were talking about possible meeting themes for the year. And another proposed theme was sharing info on how districts are spending their CARES Act money, which everybody seemed interested in. And as always, these meetings are open to all board members, so when that one comes up, I'll let everybody know in case anybody else wants to listen in. There are confirmed meetings coming up for one on the in-school health clinic that's happening in Weebatuck and what that initiative has been like. And I think that'll be a good meeting to report back on. Because getting access to, community health care and community mental health is an issue almost universally. So like I said, yeah, I'll share these topics beforehand, and then if you guys are interested in attending, you're welcome to come. It's usually the last Thursday evening of the month, and it's online, so it's pretty accessible. I also wanted to just flag that the Lower Hudson Education, I always forget what the C stands for. Coalition, yes. They're putting together their advocacy for the year, for the school year, and they had sent around a survey. The deadline is this Friday. I just forwarded it to everyone just in case you didn't see it. They would love more people to respond, more board members. And this is going to help set their agenda for the year. And I know that we do this sort of thing through NISBA, and LHEC also has their own pretty robust advocacy. So I think it would be a really good idea for anybody who has time to fill out the survey to fill it out so they know what we want them to be advocating for. The next public relations, advocacy, and legislative meeting is Monday, November 8th, before the school board meeting at 6. That's right?
Yes.
Okay. And will it be here? Is that the plan?
Yes.
Okay. And then the next Dutchess County School Board Association meeting is next month, Thursday, November 25th. And that's all.
Thank you. And are you on for the resolutions meeting on Monday?
I am.
Okay, great. Awesome. I'm curious to hear back about that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And my only comment, I just want to remind everyone we have a special meeting on Wednesday the 20th. It's going to be just a public hearing for the capital project, just one more opportunity to explain the project to the public and to hear from feedback from the public. That's at 7 p.m. And yeah, thanks to the Facilities Committee for your hard work. Thank you, Matt and Anne-Marie, for that. And I agree, Anthony, it's important to remind everyone that the Audit and Finance Committee is a new committee that we just started last year. And I think it's been really helpful so far in increasing our communication about what's going on with our finances and making it more clear and transparent, both to board members but also to the public. New business, we don't have any new business. So moving on to the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Are there any items that any board member would like to have removed from the consent agenda?
11.20.
11.20. Any others? Okay, can I have a motion to approve 11.01 through 11.22 less 11.20? Anthony, is there a second?
Second.
Laura, comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? I'm in favor, passes 8-0. Can I have a motion to approve 11.20 corrective action plan?
So moved.
Craig, is there a second? Anthony, comments or questions?
Yes, so at our Audit and Finance Committee meeting, we were advised that this was being prepared and we'd be here for this meeting. So it is. We thank you. I think it's a good time for Anne-Marie to address any points involved here. The one question I had is there a timeline for all of these points? I recognize some of them are ones that actually you start working on and somebody says something. But some of them may require some time to be fully rolled out. Can you give us an advisory on a timeline there?
So the corrective action plan is on the agenda.
some of the comments on here, the first comment about the 4% fund balance is something that we've had before, but not knowing what the financial situation is from year to year, we have been consistent to be in more of the high 5 area instead of 4. Some of the comments on here are more adjustment comments, meaning they went to the wrong account. You know, again, it's always a learning experience for us, so once we make the adjustment, we note it, and then this way we know how to do it going forward. So that could be the couple of negative budget accounts and also how we posted the inventory in the school lunch fund. The federal fund, we did have some questions. There is an outside vendor that does some work for us, which we were able to work through. They had a staffing issue there. But we also have a procedure in place to do a little bit of a review prior to the audit. So we've already started doing that. The extra classroom activity fund, we discussed this a little bit in the audit finance committee. That has had a negative balance for a couple of years. It was used, that account that's negative is basically a holding account, so when a club closes, it's really student money, so it needs to go somewhere. It can't come to the general fund because it's not taxpayer money. We had an issue with Yearbook years ago, and we needed to use some of that money to help with that. We've decided, speaking to Jennifer when she was there, that it's not a huge amount. We're going to transfer from the general fund and clear it up and make it a zero balance for next year, so we don't have that comment going forward. And Craig, you mentioned the one thing that we struggle with, and it's not a lot, but it does happen, where a purchase order is dated after something's been ordered. And we have worked really hard. We've had a lot of new staff, and it's been difficult with COVID, with people not being in every day, and so we're going to remind everybody that they can't order things unless a purchase order is done. And it's really a timing thing, but the whole idea of having a purchase order is to take the money and encumber it, make sure you don't overspend your budget. So we make sure that's pretty clear. We have a brand new accounts payable clerk that started last Thursday. And he has some experience in fund accounting, not in school districts, but in another non-profit, so we're very excited to get him up and running. And he's very detail-oriented, and I'm sure he's going to help us with this one particular issue. So I don't know if anyone on the board had any questions specifically to anything in the corrective action plan.
Are there any questions for Emery?
No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'm in favor, passes 8-0. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Anthony, second. Laura, all in favor? Opposed?